Hey, it's August 13th, and I'm writing this about 29 Summit Street. I drew a little diagram and I made a couple of videos. Obviously, the property owner was fined for for not taking care of the lawn, but I mean, there's a dip in the lawn, and is he trying to cover that up because he knows better? Because somehow, and there was a water main break at the street level at one point because you could see the patches on the street. And what I'm thinking, this is just a guess because based on what the staircase crack is showing, is that the staircase is so heavy that it's collapsing. And it's doing that because there's a supporting beam under here that must have fell because of why? A water. And I just don't look, if it's going to sag and that's it and we all rest easy and we all just like, oh well, okay, we move out, that's great, but how far down does the water damage go? How deep is whatever's below this? Because now something that supports the house is not properly supporting this area of the room. And we would have I would, my niece and nephew would believe that it's their heavy entertainment system. And I apologize, they are normally very much cleaner than this. It's just that's just how it goes. I decided to record, but they have a heavy entertainment system, so maybe they think that that's what it is, but I don't believe that's what it is. I believe it's that there's some kind of supporting beam that did not properly support the foundation or the floors because something that I don't know how this is built. And so I'm saying that this house is going to fall, and maybe this house is okay so far, but who knows where, how far growing is this water main break damage? And I recognized a dip in a sinkhole. I've heard of stories about sinkholes, and when I saw that my family was probably like, oh, let's set up the patio furniture out here on the lawn, and they go to put the chair, oh, it's leaning, and it gets smaller and smaller. Well, I mean, I'll show you in the previous video that it's sitting in a dip that indicates some kind of a sinkhole. So how far down, how deep is this water damage under the street? Now, I did contact somebody from Public Works, and I was unable to get through to anybody, and even the fire department, because I was like, how, and let me tell you, in the South, when we even see a little dip, it's everybody off the property now, and don't take anything with you but what's right there and go. And a lot of families get very upset because they need time to figure out how soon, how far, and they need to measure, and everything else is, because it could be paper thin crust under the street, but down below the soil is sand or whatever, and it's totally eroded away. And the only thing holding the roadway up, if it's in the example of a street, it's just asphalt and a little bit of dirt, and it just takes just amount of weight for that to cave in. So I mean, how far down and how wide? Because even as I sit here and talk, I mean, I'm talking about streets, but what if it is as wide as the street? How long before somebody drives over the street and it collapses? So I really think that at this point we need to like do something. I don't understand why. Look, I'm their Aunt Rachel, and even their father, my niece's father, is like, you know what, Rachel, I would never do that to my daughter. I'm like, I know I'm notorious for really, being a little bit of a worrier, and but I don't see that this is so that this would be so preposterous to think, especially since the street was patched at one time. And actually, if you go onto the city of Cohoes website, well, there's an advisory for water main breaks. So, you know, just thought I'd say something. And then if my family won't listen to me, I'll at least politely and calmly go tell a neighbor, in the very least somebody in the house next door or somebody across the street, to at least find out the history of this street and whether or not they have, if it's common that there are water main breaks on the street. It's a very old town. But I don't want to see, and I'm not worried about property. I'm really not. You don't see me going, well, we own this and we own that and call that insurance. All I'm worried about the safety of anybody involved here. And I know Public Works is probably very busy with other things going on around the city. you know. So I actually wound up, the only people, I actually called the fire department and the non-emergency numbers, of course, because why? Because everybody in my family thinks Rachel gets these notions in her head. I'm like, well, you know, it's not a notion when you're basically rolling down hills in order to get up the stairs, you know. So anyhow, I'm just saving this. I hope we don't fall into the ground, and if we do, I hope it just sinks and we're safe and everybody's out when it happens.